Hello, I'm Will. Welcome to the Tesla Jigsaw. Today I'm going to be giving top tips for buying your first electric car. I'm going to assume that some people know nothing about electric cars, so firstly, some technical lingo. EV stands for electric vehicle, and an ICE car is one that has an internal combustion engine. So EV and ICE. If you're totally new to EVs, I would really recommend spending some time doing some research into different electric cars before making the choice. This might just save you a lot of stress, time, money and regret in the future. Feel free to take some notes as I go. Firstly, ask yourself, what's your budget? Only you know this. I haven't got a clue how you're going to finance it, buy it or how much money you've got in the piggy bank. If you're a crazy person like me, just sell your house and buy one, but that's another story. If you're on a tight budget, I'd firstly recommend taking a look at the true cost of ownership of an EV. It might surprise you to learn the true cost over time, as the running costs are minimal. EVs are cheap to run, no tax, nothing really to service, no congestion charge or low emission zones to pay. They hold their resale value really well too. For example, I save over £3,000 each year that passes compared to my old car's running costs. So perhaps start by working out your past year's true cost of ownership of the car you have right now. Make sure you include how much it costs to fuel, tax, insure, maintain and service. Once you've done this, consider the differences between the cost savings of an EV when compared to your old car and the amount you'll save each month. Hopefully this gives you more money to play with when choosing your new car. Speaking of which, here are 151 electric cars available to buy right now in the UK, with 33 coming soon. The EV database is a great place to look at specifications, range, price and monthly costs of new EVs. But don't go there now, I'm just getting started. I'll link it in the description below, take a look after. Although EVs are still a little more expensive in general, we're not far away from price parity, which is where the average cost of a traditional ICE car meets that of an EV. This is due to battery declining costs and ramping up manufacturing of EVs. Number 2, where are you going to charge it? If you are one of the 72% of people in the UK to have a driveway, that's going to be handy. You'll need a home charger and get on a cheap overnight tariff from your energy provider. That's the simplest and cheapest way to fuel your EV. And like me, you may rarely ever charge it at any other location. Maybe just on holidays, where it's usually pretty easy to sling an extension lead out the window and charge up slowly overnight, or just find chargers locally to where you're staying. Running a car on electricity can be a tenth of the cost of petrol if you're on a good tariff. Also, if you happen to have solar panels, you can make your own fuel, which is amazing. Imagine being able to make your own petrol. Although I travel a lot for work, 99% of the time I charge at home, and suspect most EV drivers do too. If you can charge from a place of work, marvellous, that's free electricity and a no-brainer. There's also charging options at shopping and leisure centres, car parks and more. If you do travel around a lot, you're going to be reliant on public rapid chargers. I'll cover the types of chargers in a bit, but the undeniable Tesla supercharger network is undeniable, I guess, and still by far the most utterly reliable, dependable, abundant network there is. ZapMap is a great place to start understanding different chargers, charging speeds, and see where they're all located. You'll be amazed at how many there are. Again, the link in the description, but don't go yet. It's lovely finding free chargers and much more fun going shopping whilst you get free fuel. We've occasionally gone out of our way or deliberately to places that have free chargers, something that more businesses are offering to entice new customers to them. And if you run a business and you've got a big car park, get yourself a load of chargers, pop the chargers on a map and you'll have new customers. Number 3, how far do you travel? In the UK, 95% of car journeys are less than 25 miles, and the average commute to work is around 20-mile round trip. If this is the case for you, then any old electric car would do the trick. If you are a 2-car family, swapping one for an EV makes a lot of sense. You can pootle around town, go shopping, do your errands, take the kids here and there for cheap as chips, with no tailpipe emissions. That feels pretty nice too. So figure out how many miles you do a day and see what the minimum range is that you really need. Number 4, helpful subsidies. Our wonderful government, I couldn't get through that sentence. Our wonderful government removed the subsidy of £3,500 off the purchase price of a new EV just last year, despite other countries offering greatly more incentives to make the switch. Like this sick twisted joke from America, where you can now get $7,500 off many diesel hybrid EVs that have a tiny battery range, yet this electric car, the most popular selling Tesla Model Y, built in America, gets nothing. Government bribery or corruption? You decide. Number 5, understand real world range. Just like those ICE cars that lie about their MPGs, EVs also suffer from an optimism bias when regarding their true range. As a rule of thumb, I'd say knock off 15% of the claimed full range and you'll be about right to its real world range. There's also this thing called vampire drain, which is slow, passive battery drain while the vehicle is not in use. It's also known as phantom drain. This is caused by onboard systems such as the battery temperature management, vehicle monitoring, and theft protection. If you're looking to buy a Tesla and make use of its Sentry mode, which is pretty cool, it's where the cameras record the surroundings. They just act as security cameras while you're away. This does use up some juice, and you can expect to lose something like 10 miles of range over a 24-hour period. Obviously, if it's plugged in with the camera's recording, you won't lose any range, as it will use the power from the socket instead. Winter and I'm just going to stop for a scratch. Winter and cold weather make a big difference to range too. This does depend on the manufacturer and how good they are at engineering. It is recommended to keep your EV plugged in each night, not only to top up your battery, but also to precondition your battery and warm up the cabin before you set off. This saves you using energy from the car's battery and will give you more range instead. Once you have found your ideal car suspect, search for some YouTube reviews of it and listen out for its true real-world range. Number 6. Learn the basics of charging. Here's what you need to know. There are 3 types of charging speeds: rapid, fast, and slow. Rapid chargers have tethered cables, which means the cable is connected to the charger and include the Tesla superchargers, InstaVolt, MFG EV Power, Osprey, and BP Pulse, to name a few. They are usually located along motorways and prominent areas, but do bear in mind that reliability, cost to charge, as well as the speed of charge and the number of stalls available, all vary from place to place. These are the quickest ways to charge, and 30 minutes should be enough to carry on with your journey and top up with between 100 and 200 miles of range, depending on your car's charge speed, which is something else you need to know about. I know there's a lot to learn, but it's worth it, I promise. So that was the rapid charger. Next, a fast charger, sometimes called a destination charger, are ones that you have fitted at home. Plus you'll find these dotted about the country in hotels and car parks and so on. They usually give around 30 miles of range per hour. So my 4-hour window of off-peak charging at home gives me roughly 120 miles of range, and I really only ever charge up then, so it's super cheap. I'd recommend you get a wall charger that's tethered rather than untethered. I've had both and originally thought it'd be neater and nicer without the cable. However, on a rainy day or a late night, it's far simpler just grabbing the charger off the wall and sticking it in the car, rather than opening the frunk or the boot, getting the cable out, sticking one end in your charger and then the other end in your port, and then wrapping it up when it's all wet and horrible the next day. The simpler the better for me. It's especially nice on my Tesla wall charger, as I can press a little button that opens my flap. For some sad reason, it makes me really happy. And whilst in the car, I can even give it the voice command open butthole, and it'll open the charging port flap. So silly. Right, lastly is a slow charge, which, as you can probably guess, is the slowest. This is just plugging your car into a standard wall socket, where you get something like 8 miles of range added each hour. I think every car comes with a standard adapter like this, except Tesla, who now make you pay for it. Cheeky motherfuckers. And that's if you need it. Some people won't, I guess. But I like having it for the occasional free charge off any random socket I might find. Holidays, some car parks, etc. Some other quick points. When charging, the charging cable is locked into your port, so no one can nick it or unplug you. Whilst rapid charging, that's the fastest one, remember, it charges at its quickest from empty, then slows down once it hits 80%. It's to do with battery preservation and black magic, for all I know. I don't really know everything. An 80% charge is usually enough, though, to carry on your journey, and can be overridden if you do need to top up more. I think this is something that you should be aware of too. Number 7. Do I really need to understand what a kilowatt hour is? I'm afraid so, yes. It does help get your head around charging speeds and the cost of charging from home versus the cost of rapid charging. It'll also help when looking at the specifications of your new EV to understand its limitations or benefits. Right, ready to learn? Can't believe I've been a teacher. Hilarious. Okay, a kilowatt hour is 1 kilowatt of power being used for 1 hour. Not sure why it all has to rhyme. That's equal to 1,000 watts. So 1 kilowatt, 1,000 watts. Okay? It's the same as a 100-watt light bulb being left on for 10 hours. It will use 1 kilowatt of electricity. Sorry, I'm not speaking slowly to be patronising. I can't read very fast and I have to concentrate. My car has a 50 kilowatt battery pack. Therefore, it can store 50 kilowatt hours of energy in its battery, which is equal to 50,000 watts of electricity. I also have a 7 kilowatt charger at home, so it adds 7,000 watts per hour to my car. Make sense? I know that I pay 7.5p per kilowatt hour through my energy supplier, Octopus Energy. So to fill my car up with electricity costs me 7.5p per kilowatt times 50 kilowatts, which is the capacity of my battery pack. So this equals to £3.75 for me to travel around 220 miles, which I think you'll agree is ludicrously cheap. If you were to buy the least efficient EV, which is currently the Audi e-tron S, and charge it solely on the most expensive rapid charger network, which is Ionity at 69p per kilowatt hour, this would cost you a staggering £65.55 to travel just 180 miles. This is because it is terribly inefficient, extremely heavy, and with a massive 95 kilowatt hour battery pack. Again, my Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus has almost half the batteries, yet more range. A dedicated EV platform of a car will have far less compromises, which brings me nicely on to number 8. Not all EVs are created equal. I'm gonna have a stretch. I'm a YouTuber. Oh God, that's a good stretch. Woo! Number 8. Not all EVs are created equal. The best, most efficient, less compromised EVs are the ones that are built from the ground up as EVs, not ones that have been forced into an EV where the chassis is otherwise designed for an engine. The BMW i3 was a prime example of this with its lightweight carbon fibre body and from the ground up engineering, space and weight saving design. All Teslas are built in this fashion too, although with even more of a mass production and simplification in mind. The structural battery pack, enormous amounts of luggage space and class-leading efficiency are testament to this. For on the other hand, EVs that are grossly overweight are far less efficient, cost more and take longer to charge, and are compromised with smaller boots and passenger space, as rather than having a floor of batteries, they have to be crammed elsewhere, in the boot or under the back seats for example. Some don't even have fruits or frunks, despite there being no engine up front. This is really poor engineering and shows the companies who have made the most effort in creating a non-compromised product. Number 9. What worries you the most about switching to an EV? If it's range anxiety, consider this. 800,000 drivers run out of fuel each year in the UK. That's over 2,000 a day. If you do ever run out of juice, you'll be towed away, just like any other plonker, to the nearest charger. But best to ensure it doesn't happen in the first place, with just a tiny amount of planning your trip and checking you are charged. Remember, if you are charging from home, you'll be waking up to a full tank of electrons every day. And in my 3.5 years of ownership, I've never forgotten to charge my car, although I still forget why I walk into a room sometimes. It's handy to check your car's range from your app as well, so if you are getting into bed and suddenly wonder if you plugged the car in, you simply check on your phone. I've had some hilarious questions such as, can you drive in the rain or go through puddles with an EV? And the answer, of course, is no. You just go around the puddles. And although I'm yet to try this myself, Teslas can actually swim.
Right here we have somebody trying to drive through the street, and look how high the water's been receding all morning, but look how high the water still is on this vehicle. And again, we encourage people, don't do this. Don't do what you see right there. Very dangerous. Just stay away from roads. Really try and avoid all travel as possible. I'm going to get out of the way right here, so back to you in the studio.
There's no engine to flood, you see. Battery packs are often guaranteed for 8 years or 100,000 miles these days, so no need to worry about replacing your battery if you're getting a relatively new car. Number 10. Be suspicious of dealerships. Most don't want you to buy an EV, and they will try to trick you into getting a hybrid instead, so you'll have to come back again and again to fix, service and maintain the engine. 3 years ago, my wife and I went to countless car dealerships to ask them about their EV offerings, and I can categorically say that none of them were interested in spreading any positivity about the world transition into EVs, let alone want to sell me one. Truth also be told, the dealership model is dead. With Tesla, there's no haggling for price or waiting for hours in a showroom. Just order direct on your phone or on their website, and weeks later you'll be picking it up and be out of there in 10 minutes. Job done. It's wonderfully refreshing to have a car manufacturer that not only sells you a car that is designed to last, but where most fixes can be done via over-the-air updates, as their cars are mostly software, or their mobile technicians will even come to you. What I would advise though is that you test drive loads of EVs, but be ready to hear some negative fear, uncertainty and doubt spreading from the dealerships. Just don't fall for it and do your own research. Hybrids were a great stepping stone, but quite unnecessary if you can buy an EV with a decent range. Number 11, buying a second-hand EV. If you don't have £5,000, I'm sorry to say you're not getting one. There just isn't any available for less than that. Anything between $5,000 and $13,000, you're looking at a Nissan Leaf or a Renault Zoe. Beware of high milers though, as battery degradation was a thing for these cars and you might end up with just 50 miles of range. Still could be enough for what you need though. At £14,000 plus enters the wonderful BMW i3, which is weirdly spacious inside, great fun to drive, and almost looks quite cool with the right wheels. Maybe. We very nearly got one of these, but as a one-car family and as musicians, it just didn't quite give us the space we needed, or the range really. But I do highly recommend it, it's just such good fun to drive. As your budget increases, there's obviously lots more choice. Whatever you choose, do your research well. Some cars like the old Nissan Leafs have battery leases that you have to pay for each month, Some BMW i3s also have a range extender, which is a tiny engine that kicks in if you need it. Okay for some people I guess, but does add complexity and weight. Also, check the battery size of each particular variant, as the range you will get depends on what battery size it is and has often changed with iterations of models through the years. Auto Trader is the place to go to see EVs for sale, with plenty of filters for your specific requirements. Just make sure you start by choosing electric under the fuel type, or you'll be lost and drowning in thousands of cars. Number 12, a warning. You may become obsessed with electric things when you realise they're just better. Lawnmowers, bikes, etc. You may find yourself wanting solar and battery storage for your home, and you might get the desire to stop burning stuff and get rid of your boiler for an electric one, or get a heat pump, or just get rid of your gas supply altogether. When you learn about energy usage and charging your car, you sort of can't help but want to make sure it comes from renewable energy, or better still, make your own fuel from solar panels. The best place to find out about all of this stuff is Fully Charged Live, which has worldwide events, but 2 coming up in the UK this year. Link below to find out more. You'll find loads of EVs, e-bikes, electric vans, as well as electric solutions for home energy. I'm nothing to do with Fully Charged, just a big fan of what they've accomplished. And I've also enjoyed being on the Tesla owner stand for the past few years and doing what I do best, not shutting up about Teslas. Has this been any value to you whatsoever? I really hope so. If so, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to me for more exciting content. Oh, I can finally link to another one of my videos because I've now got 3. Please click here if you want to see, 17 reasons why I love Tesla and why Tesla's not just a car company. Yeah, check them both out. Are you a kind person? Have you received value from this video? If you are a really lovely person, you will give this video a like. Like my video. Subscribe to me for more content. This is why you should have wrote it, Will. You should write it before you try and speak it. Thank you very much for listening. Bye. That'll